In case you're one of the millions of patients struggling with sinus difficulties, you understand how unpleasant face discomfort, blocked nasal pathways and bad breath could be. In their search for remedy, a lot of sinus patients have used nasal saline irrigation, a treatment that makes use of a salt and water remedy to flush out the nasal pathways. Even though a few techniques of nasal irrigation exist, probably the most widely used is the Neti pot, a ceramic pot that looks similar to a cross between a little teapot and small genie lamp. Cleaning the nasal area with saline solution is a hundreds of years old technique that helps sinus and nasal healthiness. Nasal rinsing with a Neti pot highly recommended by health professionals for people who are afflicted by numerous sinus and nasal problems. Does the Neti pot thoroughly do the job? Ear, nose, and throat doctors highly recommend nasal irrigation with a Neti pot or perhaps some other technique for their patients who've gone through sinus surgical treatment, to eliminate crusting in the nasal pathways and bad breath according to Remedy Land. A lot of patients with sinus symptoms from allergic reactions and environment irritants also have started to frequently make use of the Neti pot or some other nasal irrigation products, saying that these types of tools relieve congestion, and face discomfort and pressure. Studies backs up these types of statements, discovering that nasal irrigation can be an easy way to reduce sinus difficulties when put to use together with regular sinus solutions. For many patients, nasal irrigation could bring relief of sinus difficulties without using prescription medications. Exactly how the Neti pot does work. The simple description of how the Neti pot functions is the fact that it thins mucus and assists flush it out of the nasal pathways. A more medical description for how the Neti pot works is related to little hair similar to tissue known as cilia that line the within the nasal and sinus cavities. These cilia wave forwards and backwards to force mucus possibly to the back of the throat, the place it could be ingested, or even to the nasal area to be blown out. Saline solution is going to improve the rate and improve management of the cilia in order that they may significantly better take away the things that trigger allergies as well as other irritants that result in sinus difficulties. Neti pot instructions, how to use a Neti pot and Neti pot water solution recipe. Buy pre-packaged saline rinse at the local drugstore, or perhaps make your own making use of 8 oz. of heated water and 1/4 teaspoon of non-iodized salt. Blend the salt water remedy properly and put it into the Neti pot. Check the water warmness before making use of the remedy, targeting lukewarm. Very hot water can easily burn up delicate nasal pathways, and freezing water are going to feel unpleasant. Standing over a sink unit, twist your head to the right or left side. Put in the Neti pot spout into the top nostril, and after that gradually pour their saline solution into the nasal area. Breathe from your oral cavity, tuck your chin gently and calm down. By using gravity, the remedy is going to stream throughout your nasal cavity and after that away from the lower nostril, carrying with it 2 mix of mucus, dirt and dust, pollen as well as other irritants. A part of the saline could enter into your oral cavity, however the greater part usually will flow into one nostril and out the other one. Shift sides and after that irrigate the opposite nostril. Position yourself over the sink unit, twisting your head laterally to permit any kind of leftover water to get out. Put a toilet tissue gently to your nose, and blow delicately to get rid of unwanted mucus and saline remedy. You might have to blow your nose a couple of times before your sinuses look and feel clear. Thoroughly clean the Neti pot after every use. Many are dishwashing machine safe, and others have to be hand cleaned up. Make sure that your nasal irrigation tool dries entirely between uses to stay away from harmful bacteria accumulation in the potty net. Make use of the Neti pot as required, every day in case you have a cold, or perhaps a couple of times every week to deal with chronic sinusitis and allergic reactions. Advantages of Neti pot treatment. During this process of flushing out the nasal cavity, the solution eliminates viruses, harmful bacteria, allergen particles and dirt and dust which settle down throughout the day in your nasal pathways. It's already been verified by experts that the mix of salt water and baking soda will move mucus away from the nasal area quicker and opens sinus pathways, and that is very useful for healthy nose area process. Cleaning the interior of your nasal area with salty water helps air movement. Because of this, you breathe better and your feeling of taste shows improvements. How frequently do you have to use the Neti pot? In experiments, patients afflicted with everyday sinus discomforts found relief from making use of the Neti pot or some other nasal irrigation method on a daily basis. Based on the recent studies, patients who are afflicted by sinus problems find relief from making use of Neti pot 3 or 4 times every week. Is the Neti pot danger and can Neti pot cause death? Studies have discovered that the Neti pot is generally risk-free. Around 10% of typical users encounter mild negative effects, for example nasal soreness. Nose area bleeds may also take place, however they are uncommon. Decreasing the quantity of salt in the remedy, reducing the frequency of Neti pot use, and adjusting the heat range of the water seem to cut down negative effects. The cleanliness of the remedy employed in the nasal area is, obviously, of crucial significance. Naegleria fowleri is an uncommon amoeba that could exist in warm and active water. If this amoeba gets into the nasal area, it can go into the brain where it could produce a fast deadly bacterial infection. This bacterial infection is especially uncommon, and can be developed after swimming or perhaps scuba diving in ponds or warm springs and ordinarily between July and September. Problem has recently arisen regarding nasal washing being an alternative way to bring in water polluted by Naegleria fowleri into the nasal area. Here are a few extra, easy steps you are able to take to ensure your safety each time you use Neti pot. Make use of bottled water, distilled water or perhaps already boiled water cooled to human body temperature before make use of that water in Neti pot. Ensure that it stays clean. Completely clean the Neti pot with hot water along with antibacterial detergent after every use. To avoid contamination, it's vital that you appropriately look after your nasal irrigation unit. Either clean the unit carefully manually, or perhaps place it in the dishwashing machine if it's dishwashing machine safe. Under no circumstances make use of water from shower or faucet, since if perhaps that water is used for nasal irrigation, it results in health problems. Learning to make use of a Neti pot in an appropriate way, you secure safety of the treatment and good results.